I've got some incredible stuff for you today, I tell you.
Oh, great. So welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. I'm Judith Krober, and today I have Ole Dammegard with me. He is the author of Coup d'etat in slow motion. I guess that is his most famous book. His website is lightonconspiracies.com. You can also support his work on Patreon. Everything will be linked below. So, Ole, welcome.
Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, interesting year. Yeah, 2019. You know, when I looked back, we had a lot of things going on. Of course, we had Christchurch, we had Sri Lanka, we had Notre Dame burning, we had the tensions with Iran that sparked up. We had several shootings in the USA. Then people wanted to raid Area 50. Yeah, as if that would happen. Yeah. So, but I found France really stood out. Yellow vests, protests. In general, we had a lot of protests everywhere. And then we had an explosion in Paris, and then 10 killed in a port, in an apartment fire, Notre Dame. Then we had a knife attack near to a subway station, and another 4 people stabbed in Paris. So what stood out for you, Ole?
Judith, would it be okay if I take you back a few months back in my life? And then
Sure,
because
sure.
it integrates a lot of these things. As you know, I've dedicated some, oh my God, it's almost 40 years digging into this kind of crap. And recently I went on a tour in Sweden, which was extremely successful. It's amazing to see Sweden of all countries finally waking up. I mean, I've been knocking on doors for so many years with no reply whatsoever. And now, boom, it's exploding. It's absolutely amazing. And so for the last few years, I've been touring in Scandinavia very intensely, among other places. And it's like these are not big events, you know. These are, because I get stopped. I've been stopped several times, or they tried to stop me, but we regroup very quickly. And I got this incredible tour organizer who's helping me absolutely for free. Amazing guy. His name is Johnny Cash, or he calls himself Johnny Cash because he stands up for cash money, you know, up against the cashless society, which is very dangerous, I think. But anyway, so what we've done is, instead of trying to organize big events where you can get shut down and where they try to do everything to interrupt whatever is going on, what we've done is that we've taken like a home delivery type of show, where I've put together like, I call it the Ole's Home Delivery, and I put together like a pizza menu, but instead it's like topics where the organizer can choose whatever they want to hear, because this head is full of it, you know, like whatever you want to hear, bomb, here is the brain for you. In these areas, I'm called Rainman as well. In these areas, an absolute loser in other areas, but this one, for some reason, my mind is just made for it. And so what we do is we go from home to home to home, you know, and we bring everything. Johnny has an RV, and the whole idea came after a year or two ago. I was invited by Johnny to come to Gothenburg to an alternative book fair, where there was quite some high level names that were going to appear there. I was going to come there. Judith Very Baker, the mistress of Lee Harvey Oswald, was going to be there. So Judith and I was going to sit and sign books at this place. And so Johnny, out of his own pocket, paid for my flight to come to Gothenburg to do this. And on the way to Gothenburg, they shut down the whole book fair because of security reasons. So which I thought, great, then we'll do it much more intimate, you know, instead of being in a big, you know,
venue.
Yeah, big venue that where you don't get the feeling. Instead, let's bring it home. So Johnny has quite a big living room, so we brought a lot of people there. And I did a talk about the Martin Luther King assassination. I tell you, mind-blowing case that no one knows what really went down. I found absolutely world-breaking news around that assassination. So anyway, I did that presentation, and I think you know by now that I talk about death and blood and destruction, but the intention is to raise people, empower people, and to make people feel alive and become aware of their own power and freedom and morals and honor and all. So people sparkle when they leave. We have to kick people out because they don't leave, because it's just such a beautiful experience. I mean, the people that come there, all of them are on a level where they're just like, they just want to embrace each other. They come fearful, they leave fully empowered and in love with each other and their new family and so on. So it's beautiful to see. Anyway, so after that evening, I just felt, I want to do this again, because it was so magical. This whole thing in the safety of somebody's home that cannot be interrupted, where people can feel relaxed and be with like-minded and finally be seen and felt by each other. And so I was thinking, like, I've got a laptop, I've got the knowledge, I've got a ticker, a pointer. Johnny has an RV, he's got extra chairs, he's got thermoses, he's got a big screen TV. Why don't we take it on the road? We got all the things, we supply everything. So this is, maybe I told you this last time, but anyway, so we went, we've been going on these tours, and it's been absolutely incredible. And so this time around, we did nine places in 13 days. We drove more than 2,000 kilometers. I mean, this is intense, I tell you, because it's like 4-hour setup. Then I do between 5 and 7 hour presentations and whatever it takes, and then we have 2 hours to pack everything, and then we go to the next place, which could be like 500-600 kilometers. So it's like intense, to say the least. But at the same time, we're talking about audiences between 25 to 120 people, something like that, which should be a joke when you look at from the dark power point of view. They shouldn't even notice it. It would, like, who would care if it was not a problem? And here, this time around was just like unreal. They tried to stop us right, left, and center. We had to book one place and then have it at another place. So we just redirected people when they came there. Nobody knew beforehand where we were going to appear. We had all kinds of weird things happening. Like when I did a talk in Stockholm, I'm very prepared. I try to be super sharp. And this time when it started, I was all over the place. I felt tired. I felt busy. I felt so unfocused. And so after half an hour, I just said, let's take a break. I hope that nobody had noticed, but apparently they had. And so I just went out. I said, I need to get some fresh air, I should have slept more. And then this guy, his name was Anders Sydberg or something like that. He came up to me. Apparently he's quite a well-known guy in Sweden for filming himself together with measuring equipment when it comes to 5G and wireless technology, all these. So he films himself with his advanced equipment going around measuring stuff and then putting it online. Never seen the guy before. But anyway, he came up to me and he said, are you aware of the radiation while you were speaking? I said, no, I have no idea. He said, check this one out. And so he showed me this measuring equipment. He says, let me see if I can remember. He said that if you look at it now in the intermission, it's 217 microwatts per square meter, I think is the correct thing. I don't understand these things. He said, this is normal around here with different cell towers and stuff around here, can go up and down like that. When you were speaking, and he said he was calculating the distance from where he was sitting to where I was standing, because he says it's go drastically down from the source where this radiation comes from. He said it was around between 100 and 200,000 microwatts per square meter, which he said is like it is 1,000 times, 1,000 times the radiation that would normally be there. And so he said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just felt a little dizzy. I just felt, not really focused. And so he said, this is not normal at all. And I said, but how on earth would they be able to get to me? Like, is it some kind of laser weapon in the sky? No, he said, absolutely not. They go in, he said, most probably through the IP address and then through my laptop, wireless headset. And so they would go through that one. So it was through which would make sense when you see the way they work. So that was the first incident. Now, the next time we drove north, and we were driving, and Johnny was driving, sitting, speaking in his cell phone, and suddenly, boom, it was like somebody whacked him in the head with something. So he almost drove off the road. So we stopped, he almost felt like puking. He was all pale and sweaty. And he said there was something just sapped me through the cell phone, the mobile. And so that was another one. Then we came to the next place, and we were up in a building that it was like 8-10 stories high. And when I looked out the window while we were setting the whole thing up, I saw this guy in a bright red uniform that was walking around the RV, filming it, close range, walking around it, filming it like this. So I opened the window, and Johnny and I was waving out to him, saying, hello, hello. And Johnny was sending the heart signs and peace, peace, brother. And at the same time, we see you. So either that was a super enthusiastic fan of RVs, that exact model, or something a little unusual was going on. So the next place we got to, we were in an apartment. I did the whole presentation, which was about the alleged terror attack in Stockholm, the truck attack on Drottninggatan, which is one of the things that I've been exposing on this tour. It's a super advanced operation, and 100% not true, the official story. It is an inside job as part of taking over Sweden as a nation. And I pinpoint people, I name them, I do that. Not very popular by the dark forces, I can tell you that. Anyway, so after we finished, it was like 2:15 in the morning. We started packing the stuff and carrying it down the stairs. I opened the RV and I just felt, oh my God, the smell. So I called the other people and I said, please, you tell me, what is this smell? Is it like old socks or dirty laundry, or what is it? Everybody says marijuana. That was exactly my thing as well. I just felt this smells like a drug center. It not just a little faint thing. It was like it stank of marijuana. So I got the host to come down with her video camera, which she filmed the presentation that night. Anyway, so I got her down. I said, please film me. And I said, okay, today is this day. It's 2/02/19. We've just come out. The whole place smells of marijuana. We're going to take all of it apart. But should we be stopped like 2 kilometers down the road, and the police happens to have like a drug smelling dog with them, and it turns out that we have like 400 kilos of marijuana stashed in the water tank or something like that. This is a proof that it has been placed there. It's not us, So she filmed that. We took the whole thing apart. Everything. Poor Johnny was there with a screwdriver taking all the sides off, the cushions, the water tank, everything, but we could not find anything. But there are two air valves in the floor of this RV, and I think possibly that somebody pumped in the smell into the man so that a dog would very easily start barking, and then they could do whatever they wanted. So anyway, we because the longer we were there with the doors open, taking it apart, the less the smell was there. So anyway, we carried on, and in the morning, because nothing happened, and then in the morning, that yet again, you know, it's how easy it is nowadays with the cell phones, with the mobile to tap the sound from these, you know, so very easily, if something was being set up, there would have been some kind of surveillance on us, and they would have heard us that we found and sort of defused that whole thing. But then in the morning, we checked after the presentation, we checked the recording, everything was fine in her video camera, and then the very next morning, the everything on the memory card that had to do with my presentation was erased. The rest was there, which was like, how is that possible? I do not know. I can just say it was gone. Thank God she has a friend who is a super, he's a crack when it comes to technology. So he managed to recreate the filmed version. So the sound is a little lower quality, but otherwise than that, it's intact. So what she did was she uploaded that, because I said, get it up there as soon as possible. Get it up and get it spread, you know, as many people as possible. Share it, so it gets out there. Then we drove to the next place, and there was, you know, sometimes there are these people from intelligence agencies or military. I mean, I can spot them most of the time. I always do. I always go around. I shake everybody's hand. I look them in the eyes. I see them and welcome them. And some people do not like that at all. I mean, most people they really like, because it becomes very intimate right away. But some of these ones, they are not fond of that one, I can tell you. So it's anything to avoid seeing, you know, saying hello and stuff. And there was this guy there that I can tell you this, he was some kind of military, police, security, something like that. Tall guy, early 60s, just about to go into pension. And but his whole military appearance, how you can just see some people. And he came there in a Jaguar. I went out there and welcomed him, and I complimented the car. He just, you know, like really got empowered by that, and said he had 2 Jaguars, whatever. But anyway, when he was in there, I started talking, and it took, because I could see people, you know, they look at me, but I see them. And the more I spoke, he started looking like he was freaking out. I mean, he started to look really scared. And then he left in the first intermission. He just said, thank you so much, I need to go home. And he just took off. So I thought, okay, fair enough. And he was really interested in my book, Coup d'etat. You know, he was going through it very so Johnny, who sells books in the intermission, he said, so are you interested in it? You know, he said, absolutely not. But he was very much like this in it. Anyway, so the very next morning, we drove off to the next place during the night, and the next morning, the host couple were driving this guy from Gothenburg, this incredible individual who had taken the bus from Gothenburg to the south of Sweden, which is like 300-400 kilometers, on a bus, without knowing who I am, without knowing what I was going to talk about. But he just felt, yep, I want to go. So he followed his heart and came there. I think that is amazing. You know, when you have that kind of dedication to following your heart and doing good. So anyway, so they were driving him back to the bus, and they were driving down this not a very big road. And there was a police car with 4 police officers in it. They were standing out, waving them to the side. And in Sweden, I don't know about Germany, but in Sweden, normally you have got 1 car, 2 people, you know, 2 police officers in. If there's 4 in it, there's something special going on. And here, they were you know, waving to the side. And the guy who drove was like, "Oh shit, I forgot my driver's license." So he opens up the first when he there's this very polite police officer that comes up to him and says, "Hello, how are you doing?" And the driver said, "I'm really, really sorry, I forgot my driver's license." And then the police officer says, "Don't worry, this is not a normal control." And he says, "This is a good day control." I have no idea what that means, but that is what he said. And so he did not check the driver's license. He did not check the anything regarding the car, vehicle, nothing. Instead, he wanted everyone in the car to identify themselves, including the person in the background. And they even had to lean forward like this. And the guy who was driving said, I don't know if he had some kind of facial recognition, something, but he really wanted people to lean forward and so that he could see them. And then when they were just about to drive off, he said, now you have a very nice day, just drive carefully. Please remember, it's very easy to get killed in this type of traffic. So when they started driving off, everybody in the car was looking at each other and said, what the hell was that? Was that like a death threat? Because the way he said it about how you can easily get killed in traffic, this was a Sunday morning, there was no cars out, whatever. But thank God these are people, these are Vikings that just ignited them even more. And then we did 2 more talks, and at that time it was like the tension in the room, beautiful people, beautiful location, but people were starting to really ache, and they were really getting heavy headaches. Some people felt like puking. And they had very severe back pain, and some people in the audience said that there were like flashes coming out from the electric equipment we were using, the light stands and stuff. And I mean, I didn't notice at all. I was just doing my part, but I could feel it was like we were getting closer and closer to breathing the beast in the face. It was like evil was becoming more and more present. I know it sounds bizarre maybe, but that was the feeling, I tell you. And the last night of the tour, oh my God, we were in Gothenburg. We were in Copenhagen in Denmark. And that evening, everybody could feel it. The technical equipment, the volume was going up and down and up and down and up and down. And the technical stuff was just weird. And I said, please be aware of what we're doing here, because this is on a spiritual level as well. It is a spiritual battle between good and evil. So everybody, let's just focus, stay in the heart, stay in compassion, forgiveness, balance, and do not become afraid. Let's just let go of the fear. Do not let doubt in, and let's just go through this whole thing, which we did. It was a fantastic evening. It really was an amazing, but I could feel the bad breath of this dark entity. I don't know what it was, but there was some heavy things going on in that room that night. And it was really interesting as well, because I said, I have this strong feeling that right now we are at the crossroad, where the whole thing just goes either way. And if we keep the focus, we will just succeed. And I said, now is the moment for us to stand up, in absolute grace and dignity and balance. And boom, the clock went for midnight. Bam. At that exact moment, I thought this is like a Hollywood production. Like, where the hell did that go? Anyway, so what I wanted to tell you about and what is going on at this exact moment, now this is on November 28th. So I'm going to come back to that. But what happened during this tour was that I was digging into more and more into this alleged attack on Drottninggatan in Stockholm, which happened on the 7th of April 2017. And I spent thousands and thousands of hours digging into these type of operations, trying to totally pick them apart. And one of the things that I came across was this video. It was like a film presentation, like a TED talk. But I believe for the inner circle, this was not meant to be leaked out to the public. And it is the chief of security, a man called Ole Dammegard, the chief of security at Länsstyrelsen in Stockholm, which is the central organ in Stockholm, which is organizing everything from fire brigades to the security police, to military police, fire ambulances, all the different authorities in a case of crisis and other things. And the name of this is Samverkan, which means cooperation, Samverkan Stockholm. Okay, so after this alleged terror attack, where a truck is said to have been hijacked by a Muslim asylum seeker, who hijacked this beer truck and then drove it around through one of them, or the main street of Stockholm, a pedestrian street called Drottninggatan, where he allegedly killed 5 people and injured like 15 other people, and then crashed the truck straight into a supermarket called Åhléns. Well, this film presentation, just like a TED Talk, very similar to a TED Talk, in this one, this chief of security, Ole Dammegard, describes it. His talk even is said, the drill that became reality. He describes in it where he says that 1 minute before the attack occurred, he raised the terror level by sending out a mass email to all the different authorities involved. He sent one mass email out to all of them and raised the terror level 1 minute before it actually happened, before the attack happened. How, I ask you, how can anyone do a thing like that if it's not them doing it? And so it's like, it's the best smoking gun ever. I mean, that is what a terrorist look like, a real one. And in the rest of the presentation, he goes through as well the timeline, you know, exactly how they coordinate the whole thing, how they work together, minute by minute by minute. And a person like me is just like, hallelujah, you know. I don't know who leaked out this video, but I think somebody with a good heart that was just starting to feel really bad about what they have been involved in leaked this one out. So this is one of the people that I pointed out. This is what a traitor looks like. This is what a real terrorist looks like, Ole Dammegard. So after that, I started tracking him down because, I mean, if he's involved in that one, and I've been exposing so many of these attacks, I think it's 18 now on international radio, up to 2 months before they actually happen, showing that this is not isolated incidents. They are coordinated. These are NATO operations, state-sponsored terrorism carried out in NATO countries or countries that belongs to a secret spy license called 5 Eyes, 9 Eyes, 14 Eyes, and 41 Eyes that was created after the Second World War. And so I thought, if he's involved this deeply in this one, what about others? So I found his Twitter account where he had only like 200 followers, but I tell you, insiders. And one of the things with all kinds of problems in mankind is the size of the ego. When the ego starts to inflate, that is when you become a risk to yourself. Because you think these type of individuals, they start to see themselves as untouchables, you know, and they start to... And this is one of these guys. So he, in his Twitter account, was talking about, for instance, that in the beginning of October, they just had their 500th meeting. That's 500. That is a lot of meetings, you know. And they say in Stockholm only. But when I checked out where he had been to many of these cities where alleged terror attacks have happened. And the time was also similar to when they happened. So I was like, whoa, wait a second, 500 meetings? That's, I mean, in his career, that would be like one meeting every 2 or 3 days in Stockholm. I don't think so, especially not since, well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, and then the more I saw that he had been to many of these key cities, where one of the things they keep talking about is the terror, and then all kinds of weird things, and then the word resilience. The word resilience is used over and over. I believe that word is almost like a code word that describes real terrorism. They call it the London Resilience Group, or the London Cyberspace Resilience. That is the key word that keeps this whole thing together. It sounds really good and very advanced, but it's their word of describing what they're actually up to. My theory, but I keep bumping into this one. And so he, in his Twitter, he just said that he had been to Barcelona, where one of these one of these fake attacks had happened. And then he said, as part of the steering committee, they had now agreed upon 39 locations in five countries with 5 main cities, going down on October 23 and 24 with a durance of 36 hours, during 36 hours from the October 23 to October 25, 36 hours, and where they had decided on this location. And it all went under the name of Operation Havsörn, or if you translate it, Operation Sea Eagle 2019. So the more I looked into this, I just felt, holy crap, what the hell are they planning here? Because when I looked into it, October 23 and 24 is exactly the dates when Brexit was going to be decided. It is all, and when you looked at the cities that they had agreed upon for these 39 exercises or locations, whatever that means, I would say attacks, coordinated attacks is what I heard. Because when you look into these kind of things, you learn the lingo. I mean, I've been down this road for a long time. It's like if you are staking a drug dealer's home, and somebody calls in and says, I would like to buy 5 kilos of salad or lettuce, it's not lettuce they're talking about. It's some kind of drugs. You don't have to be super sharp to understand that one. And here, it's the same type of lingo that is being used here. So the cities that they were talking about with these 39 coordinated locations were London and Manchester. Both of them had been heavily hit with alleged terror attacks, which I've diffused or exposed every single one of them as inside jobs. And that was at the time, the exact time when the Brexit whole thing was going down, October 23 and 24. Then you have Paris. That is where they have this massive problem with the Yellow Vest movement. So a coordinated attack in Europe would, boom, make France go in under or hit down and knock down on this movement very, very hard for security reasons. You see, now we've been attacked all over the place. We need for your security to get tanks in the street and shut you down. So Brexit and Yellow Vest in one go. Then you have Barcelona, which was the third city. That is where they have the massive problem with Catalonia trying to free itself from Spain. Massive uprisings in the millions. That would have sorted that out as well. And then you have Rotterdam in Holland, which I didn't understand. Why would they hit that place? Why did they choose that one? And then I was contacted by a naval officer who said that Rotterdam is like the mouth of Europe when it comes to importing food. And so if you hit there, if you want to create chaos, you hit the harbor of Rotterdam, that would knock out the food supplies of Europe within a week. The whole of Europe would be in chaos, food-wise. And then there were two other operations as well connected to this operation, which were in Sweden. And it was against two power plants, one in Älvkarleby up north. That is a water power plant, electricity. And then Forsmark, which is a nuclear power plant. So with these two ones combined with 39 targeted hits in Europe, can you imagine the chaos that it could have taken place during October 23 and 24? And also it turned out that October the 24 is the United Nations Day. So if you could then make some of these attacks aim towards the United Nations, so that the United Nations, according to the old false flag template, would be the victim instead of the aggressor, then that would justify for the creation of the one world army, which has been on the New World Order agenda for many, many years, which is where they combine the US military with NATO and the United Nations forces, boom, together. So a massive attack over Europe and against the United Nations, that would have justified that as well. So you would have been able to solve all of these problems: Brexit, Yellow Vest, Catalonia, the One World Army. Also in Sweden, there's a whole different agenda going on, because in Sweden, they're trying to force Sweden into NATO. That's the whole thing. It's not, the other countries are already in NATO, but in Sweden, so they're trying to freak people out with this scary, ugly Russia in the East. But there is no threat there, but they're trying to pump up this whole thing for the Swedish population. So let me see if I forgot anything. Yeah, anyway, so when I started discovering this, I just felt sick to my stomach. This was on October 20th, the night between October 20 and 21. So I felt, oh my God, we got like 36 hours at least, or maybe 48 hours before they start doing this. So if I'm correct, we got a chance here. So what I did was divinely synchronicity. There was a guy there already, a friend of mine, who had a film camera with him and who's got his own YouTube channel, Wake Up Globe. So I said, please, Michael, bring your camera. We went to the kitchen, just turn off the fan, on with the lights, boom, and we started filming. And we put it out, two different versions, with this warning, in Swedish and in English. I said, please share. And then, since I've got a massive network of international radio stations all over the world, I did short interviews up until 4 o'clock that morning, and just with the exact same warning, please share.
I saw that, yeah.
And I checked within 24 hours, there were at least a couple of 100,000 people aware of this whole thing. So what happened on October 23 and 24? More or less nothing. So that's interesting, because why were there no drills, these 39 major drills that they had planned? Instead, there was silence, except for there were some tiny little squirts, some in Sweden. There was an alleged ambulance, somebody stole an ambulance in Norway and drove it straight into a crowd. It's the same story all over again. But here, it was the day before, I would say, as a diversion, as part of the whole operation. And then you had one truck in Holland, where it's said to have been 39 dead people found, in Chinese people in Zeebrugge, that I would also say was part of this whole thing. But otherwise than that, more or less nothing. So I was then contacted by a freelance journalist in Brussels. Brussels is the city of where the NATO headquarters are. And in the NATO headquarters, as if I've been correctly informed, Mossad has also got its own office, as well as the CIA. How convenient is that? And so he said that he and some colleagues had been seeing that something was building up, something big was coming, and they didn't understand what's going to go down. They could just feel the tension, something big was coming. And then he said, and then I saw your warning, and suddenly all the pieces fell into place. So he asked me, are you aware of what is going on in Brussels right now? And I said, I have no idea. Please tell me. He said, what has happened now is that they've called for a massive crisis meeting in the NATO headquarters where all the defense ministers of NATO have been called in. So everyone flew in that day. More or less within the same time span, all on a global scale, all the Israeli embassies and other official things, the last thing I'm not sure about, but at least the embassies were shut down. I mean, shut down. And then they say it was a global strike because the employees wanted more pay. I mean, would you think that the embassy staff of Israel, of all countries, would manage to make a global strike because of the payment? I mean, really, I think we're looking at something totally different. And he also informed me that Vice President Mike Pence, the US Vice President, and the US Secretary General of Defense had been called back to the US from the Middle East because of an emergency meeting. So I just felt, what the hell? But I believe that in my world, I really think that we managed to mess this up big time, big time, big time. And then just the day after, on the 25th, the Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, who was also one of the key people, I would say, that of the mass shooting in Norway. He was one of the key people in that whole thing, as one of the bad boys, and a Bilderberger as well. It was after that that he was elected head of NATO. Anyway, he had a press conference on the 25th. This is the day after. And he just, he called the press there. It's just a few minutes you can find on YouTube. When you listen to his voice, welcome to the, I mean, he looks terrified. He looks terrified. And then right after that, President Donald Trump goes out and said, we just managed to kill al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. It's the biggest step forward ever. Well, I'm sorry, Donald. This is the fourth time you killed him. I mean, this is the fourth time you officially killed him. So, I mean, how many times do you need to kill him before he's actually dead? Is that true, or is it a massive diversion? Look over here, instead of seeing what's going down. I don't know, but in my world, that was a massive diversion because, I mean, really, he should have been dead the first time.
Bin Laden. I mean, how many times did that?
No, it's Bin Laden 2.0, but the whole thing with ISIS is just hilarious. I mean, all the three leaders of ISIS have been killed, shot, wounded, put in prison, then shot and killed and wounded again, multiple times. It's not very good scripted, I must say. So after that, I really hoped that we had broken the back of this beast, once and for all. But I believe that NATO in these crisis meetings have regrouped. I mean, that's their job. Even though they're desperate, they need to regroup. Because what we've seen in Sweden especially, it's just ramped up to a crazy rate, So there's two operations going on in Sweden right now. One is called Operation Havsörn, which means seagull, and the other one is called Operation Rimfrost. And in it, what they're doing is they're doing society disturbances, what they call it. And you can go in, I mean, they have it on their websites. It's just, you need to understand the lingo, and it's right there in your face. So I've been spreading out. I even managed to find a login to their online timeline, the cloud where they're operating these things from. Because they were bragging about this new software that they were using. It's called Exonaut, EXONAUT. N-A-U-T. So I just somehow stumbled across the platform that they're using for these operations, and I managed to log in. And so I've been sharing this to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, saying, please log in and see for yourself. And also, any kind of these operations that is there, you can click on it, and there's people, a contact person, and so on. So I've asked people, call these people, email them, and said, bugger off, we see what you're up to, give us a life, or get a life yourself, and back off, leave us alone. We see what you're up to. Anyway, so this has really shaken things up now. So it's been the last week or so has been ridiculous. There's all of these explosions going off everywhere, terror attacks. It's the same thing. It's always in an empty store or on the back of a house or outside a police station. Really good targets if you're a terrorist. I mean, it really makes an incredible impact. Not. It makes no impact at all. And then you have all kinds of weird stabbings, where the crime scenes looks like a joke. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just hilarious if you ask me. And then I was told by an insider that there was going to be a massive false flag on the Arlanda airport today at this exact time here, when we're recording this, on Arlanda. There would be 150 English-speaking crisis actors flown in, and it would be... I got a very cryptic message, but I got it from several different sources. So I asked one of them, could you please be more specific? Because just an airport in Sweden, So they also said that the stately owned company of this airport was very secretive about this whole thing. So I asked for a more specific location. I got it back. Let me just see. I got the sun in my face. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so I go like this. So I got back that it was Arlanda, which is the biggest airport in Sweden. And so the way I saw it was like, if they have 150 English-speaking crisis actors, since they always look for the impact, international impact, the global impact of this kind of fear porn, it would be not in the domestic area. It would be like with the international flights, because then they could have like multiple different nationalities among the alleged victims and pump this whole thing out. So once again, I went out and blew the whistle. I mean, not because it's comfortable, I tell you that. It's not comfortable to name these people. These are brutal forces. It's not very nice. But what can I say? So I got this beautiful friend in Sweden, Mikael Oddane, from Wake Up Globe, who's fearless, and his wonderful partner as well, Joanna. And so what we've done is several of these interviews where I've gone into great detail. I said, this is what I've been informed. I don't know if somebody's playing games with me, could be to make me look like a fool, or this is correct information. So we pointed this out here on November 28th. And I would say that it would be Terminal 5, because that is, as far as I know, the foreign lines. Maybe there are more of them, but at least Terminal 5 is the one that when I go to Sweden, that's the one I fly from. So after we went out with that, I started getting more info from the inside. One of them from different military sources that says, yes, we confirm what you're saying. We've known about this information for a long time, but it's not official anywhere, but they've known about it. And also there was, I got from one guy working at the airport saying that at the exact times that I pointed out, that there were changes of the the security of the airspace around the airport and an area close by called Kungsängen, which could also be coordinated together with this. At the same time, also, NATO has this massive conference in Sweden between the 26th and the 28th of November, which is exactly 2 days before and today, where the whole thing with this conference is how to combine Sweden's and the alliance of Sweden, still not part of NATO, together with NATO operations. And so the way I see it, that could be a fantastic combination for them to have this conference, prepare this whole thing under the cover of a conference, and then the crescendo and the grand finale of the conference would be this massive terror attack on Arlanda. So I went out again, pumped it up, and then suddenly it appeared on the official website of Samverk, and the exact, which it was not there before, but then suddenly it's there. So people say, well, it's there. Why are you saying about things that were not there? Well, it was not there when we started, and now it's here. And when we did one of these videos, it went out, and there was like 0 views, and then we had up to 225 likes. Please explain that to me. How is that possible? 0 views and 225 thumbs up. You cannot have that. So people were saying, what the hell is going on here? And I love it. You know, these type of things make it quite obvious what is going on. And I also heard that David Icke had exactly the same phenomena on his latest interview. So when people were starting making fun of it in the comments and pointing it out, check it out, check it out, check it out, then suddenly it started working again. Isn't it amazing? So suddenly there were like several thousand views, and it's just spreading. It's going so fast in Sweden right now. So at the same time also, Jens Stoltenberg, once again, the General Secretary General of NATO, he's yesterday signed a new agreement with Boeing, and Boeing and NATO are using their planes and this very advanced equipment, where they've just signed a 1 billion Swedish krona agreement or order with Boeing, where Jens Stoltenberg says that now this is a major step forward because of NATO's attempts to surveillance and control. He says these words, surveillance and control. Who wants surveillance and control from an organization like NATO? What does that mean? I would say that is exactly what they're planning. And so scary, I think. And then also at the same time when Mikael and I went out and did our interview warning about what was going to go down, this is like 2 days ago, the Swedish government and the defense minister stepped forward and said that now we have this new anti-terror budget where we're going to put everything under one umbrella and be able to hit harder against this and that and this. So what would the timing be when you see how other operations are carried out? Like when 9/11 went down, the Patriot Act and Homeland Security, that was on standby. So while people were still in the state of shock, boom, just pulled it in and got it approved of. People didn't even know what happened to them. You know, they were still in the shocks that, whoa, and boom. Well, there you go, Patriot Act and Homeland Security. Thank you very much. When the Nice attack happened, we had a similar thing. When the London bombings happened, we had a similar. When the alleged Copenhagen shooting happened, we had the exact same thing. This whole terror budget on standby, and then boom, 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 something happens in and approval before we even see what's going on. So here, 2 days before, they have this whole package ready. So imagine today, maybe exact now that boom, something big happens. Oh my God, and in the budget was just there, and all it needs is a little approval, just a signature for your security. And so here we are.
Because they love you so much.
They do. I'm so glad that you see it from their point of view, Judy, because they care about us. They love us. They just want to protect us. And so right now, it's going to be very interesting, because either there will be this drill that they have said now, that they have said that, yeah, we're going to do the drill. There would be a drill, and it would just be a normal security. They just happened not to inform people working there, except for the boss of the scene, but otherwise than that, or the other person, no one seemed to have been informed that this was going to go down. But now, maybe they will do the drill, or there will be a terror attack carried out right now. Or there would be no drill at all, which would be very interesting, because if there would be no drill at all, that would prove the whole point, you know, that they have been exposed. So I don't know. I don't envy them in this situation, because what are they going to do? Lots of people are looking at them. And I have several people that have traveled out to the airport with cameras, just standing, waiting on standby. And action, filming, you know. So interesting times, to say the least.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm battling the AI here behind the scenes. You can't imagine what's going on here. Usually I have you fully blown all over the screen, and then it shrinks to a and then it tells me Ole Dammegard does not have enough bandwidth.
No.
But as far as I remember, I had that with another guest, and it will not be visible once the recording is being uploaded. So nobody will see that. But while you were talking, I was really like, please come on, work with us.
No,
don't interrupt.
No, but this is the whole thing, Judith. This is how it's, I mean, if this was just once or twice or 4 times or 20 times, but it's all the time, the time. And so it's just wonderful, because it just proves a point, you know. So just leave it like that and put up an image or whatever, and just say, look at that. Yeah. You know, because it's never happened before, maybe, and then suddenly it does like that. I've never had this problem with Zoom before. So it's just interesting, to say the least. And this is where it becomes very tricky for them, because how are they going to shut us up? How are they going to do it? Because when they try to, it becomes so obvious. And this is also a blessing for me, because I'm becoming more and more difficult to get rid of, because if they do it, it will just prove my point, and it will be massive blowback in their face. You know, so what can I say?
When you talked about the events during your assemblies, I thought for a second, maybe I should reconsider my illness.
Do you know, Judith, it's very easy to become paranoid. And
yeah, I know, but we talked about it. I think I'm on a good way, so
it is what it is, you know. So does it help for you? Is it helpful for you to become nervous or afraid?
No,
I don't think so. It will not help you heal faster. So it's good to become aware, okay, this could be a possibility, or it's just something else. So, well, yeah. And do you know what paranoid means? And there was this MI6 agent that explained it. He said that paranoid actually means the ability to connect dots that other people don't see, the connection between. That is paranoid. And they hijack that word and use it against us. So when somebody says, oh, you're just paranoid, I say, that's so kind of you. Thank you so much. I've been trying to learn how to connect these dots for years, and apparently I'm getting good at it. Yeah. So they changed the language against us.
So when you talked about Rotterdam and the port there and the importance of, because for the food safety of Europe, I have a feeling that is a step, not specifically Rotterdam, but Hunger Games, next stop Hunger Games. Can you see that, or would you say?
God, yeah. No, they've been trying to, you know, like Sweden is a very peaceful country, or has been forever and ever. until a few years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things, suddenly there was this brochure being printed out for every single household in Sweden saying, in case of war, you know, and then all the different things. You have to have batteries at home, you have to have extra food, you have to have extra water. Do you know, like, what we're talking about is how to disturb people's peace of mind, how to slowly freak them up. And what is going on in Sweden now is that they're hitting all kinds of areas of where you feel secure. You know, IT, they shut down the internet, they've shut down mobile ID, they've shut down the subway stations, the electric. There's been thousands of power cuts, including on a ferry, you know, and they've there are, like, as far as I know, 3,400 computers at different hospitals in Sweden were destroyed at the same time. That's a bit of a coincidence, I would say. 3,400, and they don't see a pattern. All the Swedish hospitals at the moment is in what is called stabsläge, which is the mildest form of massive alert level. You got disaster level, and then that is in 3 different steps: a mild version 1, 2, and 3. And so it's disaster level 1. That is where all Swedish hospitals, as far as I'm being informed correctly, have been put in that state right now. Why? But and if you open a newspaper in Sweden, I'm pretty sure it's the same in Germany. You look out through the window, it's absolutely beautiful and calm and peaceful. You open the newspaper, you are in a war zone.
Exactly.
I'm sure it's the same in every single country in Western Europe, as far as I know. I've been doing radio interviews in Serbia and Albania and you name it, Greece. And sometimes I say to them, you know, I don't speak Albanian, but I know what's in your newspapers. How is that possible? Well, I can tell you. And then I just start, well, there's massive problem with immigration. There's all of these gang rapes. There's knife stabbings. There's explosions. There are all of these things. And they said, but how on earth can you know that? Because it's one agenda that is being played. It's a united agenda that is being played out in all the countries at the same time. And so much of it is just not true. It is not true. That is pure fake news. So we come to a very strange point in time where it's like you see more truth, more real truth being revealed in Hollywood movies, and then fantasy world is in mainstream media.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah. And these headlines, and especially these big events like 9/11 and what have you, even the mass immigration agenda. I'm not saying it is not problematic. I'm not saying 9/11 was not horrible. Of course it was. But a huge chunk of that is about our thoughts, emotions, and actions, because that is what charges the entire thing.
I mean, I've known about the mass invasion of immigrants since the mid-90s, that they were planning for this. I mean, it's George Soros sponsored. It's all divide and conquer to dissolve nations, destroy nations from the inside. It's done by design. And also what is carried out in most countries is that you allow in or not you, but your government that is there to protect you for some strange reason, even though your country apparently are in some kind of financial crisis where everything else is being cut down, including the police force, so that the crime rates are going up, and still you just open the doors and say, no, come on, bring it in more. And then you handpick especially young men with criminal backgrounds. That's interesting. And then what you also do is you make everything so unjust, so that normal people that have been taxpayers for their whole life, you cut down everything on them. for them, and you put them in small little apartments, and then you give like a 4-room apartment to a former ISIS war, some kind of weird stuff like that just makes normal people go, what the hell? And then you stir it up. It's called divide and conquer. You stir this whole thing up so that in the end people are fuming under the surface because it's so unjust. Yeah, but who's making it unjust? Is it the immigrants that decides the rules, or is it the people that you think you have elected into power positions where they do this? Where is the problem? The problem is not the immigrants. The problem is who is creating this whole mayhem.
Yeah.
Is there to create absolute chaos in the end, so that the only thing they need, like a 39 coordinated attacks, 9/11 European style, that would be the spark then, but boom, and the whole thing would explode, so that the governments in these countries, coordinated, would say, well, the only way we can solve this horrible problem, reaction, solution would be with martial law, boom. And in comes tanks in the streets. Also, I believe that what had been planned on October 23 and 24 would be a shutdown of the internet as we know it, because they would say, well, all of these Muslim terrorists would have shared this type of information over Facebook, Twitter, you name it, Snapchat, whatever, Google, whatever, So we, for your protection, because like you say, Judith, they really care about us, we just need to shut the internet down, censor the whole thing, and we will then offer you a commercially based, but you have to pay, very limited version where we decide everything of what you're going to see for your privilege.
Yeah.
That would also they would ban the rights to meet in groups. They would ban alternative media when it comes to truth media. And the thing is, I'm being shut down right, left, and center for hate speech. Judy, do I appear as a hateful person? Do I appear as a racist?
No.
I don't know. I'm a foreigner.
Actually, you are one of those who are always saying, you know what, we have to overcome that divide and conquer thing. And we will not succeed if we cannot stand divided. That's not possible. So I don't see hate speech there, but what I do see is that, if more and more. Go ahead.
No, I've also been connected to white power, for the white race. Yay!
I will tell you something now.
What?
I contacted somebody for an interview, and the next day I got my answer, and the answer was, I am not interested in appearing on a channel that interviews communists, specifically communists like Max Egan and Ole Dammegard.
So I'm a communist now as well.
Yeah, no, you are a communist.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
I would love a copy of that email just for fun.
Yeah, and then I racked my brain for hours, and I thought, why communists? Like shield, gatekeeper, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But that was very specific. So I was here in my house doing some housework, and I thought, communist? Why communist? And then after a couple of hours, I decided to Google it. And then after a while, when I typed in a certain combination of words, somebody in a forum showed up and said, I am so sick of this researcher. He has the nerve to call Max Egan and Ole Dammegard communists just because they are saying that humanity needs to unite, and they have to overcome this divide and conquer thing.
Well, apparently I'm a communist then.
Yeah, you're a communist, yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because now apparently I'm a Raja Yoga teacher and a Freemason and a shill and a communist and a white power, a racist as well, and a hate speech promoter and love and unite promoter. I mean, I don't know. I need to be some kind of schizophrenic to get that into one person. But there you go. It's interesting times.
Yeah.
And Max Egan, I can tell you, he is not a communist, whatever he is.
Of course not.
I would not. He's an anarchist, if anything.
Mm.
But anarchist is a word or a description that many people misunderstand. I did too, until I was invited to Acapulco in Mexico here a year ago. No, it was actually this year. My God, it feels like it was 10 years ago. But anarchist, according to the people down there, means that, you know, just leave us alone. We don't need any rulers. Live without rulers. As far as I know, that is the description of an anarchist. And I say, in that case, yeah, baby, I'm an anarchist. Because I say, let the heart rule. We know inside ourselves what is right and what is wrong. And so if we can follow that law and treat other people with beauty and dignity and respect, boom, that's it. You don't need you don't need any rulers. And it's like some people say, oh, you would be the perfect leader. I said, God, fire my butt if ever, you know. But what I could do maybe is live by example and inspire that way. You know, I hope so that maybe by me living or walk my talk, that I can inspire other people to do the same. In that case, if that would be some kind of leader, then great, but not me as a person.
Yeah, yeah. There I have to say, I don't trust Jeff Berwick as far as I can throw him, but that's a different story.
Yeah, but I don't, listen, Judith, I don't know him. I don't know you. I mean, I don't know him. I don't know her. I don't know. I'm surrounded by people that I don't know who they are. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I met Jeff. He's a guy that it's not somebody I would be a close friend with, but he created this space in Mexico that attracted somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 people from all over the world that came there. And I mean, I've never seen anything like it. For me, it was amazing to be part of it. So I'm forever grateful that he flew me there, and so I could be part of it. Otherwise than that, I don't know him at all. I don't know what he stands for.
Okay, yeah.
No, so what I've said on an early stage, I will speak at any venue, anywhere. You know, just if I can make a difference for the better, bring me there. And one time, I tell you, Judith, I had to eat my words because I was invited to England, when it sounds so luxurious, oh, I did a UK tour. No, I took my backpack and I went there, and I went with a bag of donations. You know, that is the type of... Anyway, so I went there, and one of these 4 talks were at a place where they would not reveal the location before 1 hour before it all started. So I was like, okay. But once again, I've said I will speak to anyone, anywhere, especially the one behind the scenes, you know, military, Hells Angels, SWAT teams, you name it, they can come with plastic bags over their head. I don't need to know anything about them. But if I can help to maybe make them understand of the game that they have been manipulated into and have problems getting out of, I'm there, you know. So anyway, we were there in London, and then we found out that it was going to be the Holiday Inn Hotel, which is a very luxurious hotel. And so we came there, and I went into the place, and I was like, what is this? Because there was a lot of skinheads, and there was, what is this flag? I mean, we're talking white power, skinheads, extreme right. And most of the audience looked like they would have been perfectly casted for an old Nazi film. You know, the only thing that was missing were the uniforms. And I'm not saying anything negative about around the whole Hitler thing. There's so much coming up now that shows a whole different picture than we have been told. So I'm unlearning rapidly. But anyway, you know the type of movie I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So while I was there, I was like, what is this? Because I was one of several different speakers. And then I started hearing outside the hotel, whoa, 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 whoa. So I looked out and there was Antifa, you know, and there were smoke bombs and riot police. And I was like, oh my God, I think am I one of the reasons why they're outside? And so the answer was yes. Anyway, so I thought, what am I going to speak to? Because I felt all of these people, their political views were very much to the right. You know, and here I am, not political at all, but following the heart. So I thought, what am I going to talk about? So I started talking about when I took an old bicycle from Sweden and I was going to South Africa on my own. And instead I took a left somewhere and I ended up in the war between Iran and Iraq years ago, where I thought I was going into a country full of maniacs screaming Allah Akbar, shooting each other. And instead I found a lot of beautiful people in an extremely difficult situation. And it ended with me helping to smuggle out some of my new friends from Iran through former Russia, East Germany, up to Sweden, where they later got asylum. And so I spoke from that point of view to these racists and talking about, you know, building bridges between our hearts, you know, seeing above religion, beyond color of skin, beyond culture, but just, you know, and I felt...
Yeah, that is what many people do not get. You are not a color. No.
Or we're the whole rainbow, I don't know. But anyway, so I thought maybe they're going to string me up after this, you know. But instead, two people came forward. There was a lot of quietness afterwards. But, you know, I just followed my heart when I was speaking, and sometimes I can hardly remember what I was saying afterwards because I just go into the zone type of thing. And two people came up afterwards and hugged me. One of them started crying, you know, because so... And anyway, so we left and the police was there. No, you cannot go out. It's too dangerous. I said, please, not a problem at all. If you can please let me through here. So I came out there. They were like, I'm not exaggerating. You can see this on YouTube. There were like smoke bombs outside. Antifa was whoa, whoa, whoa. There was riot police. There were helicopters. And like, so I just walked out. And I came with a big smile and a big open heart, and I walked straight through the crowd of whoa, 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 Antifas with the masks on and the whole thing. And they were looking at me like, are you someone I'm supposed to hate? You know, but this is the wonderful thing, because I could see in their eyes, these people were paid. Yeah. They were not hateful at all. These were teenagers somewhere, you know, here's $25 or pounds. If you turn up here, start screaming and shouting, whatever. And that's it. There was nothing going on. It was a big theater play, the whole thing. So for me, it was a really interesting episode. And also because I said I would speak to anyone, anywhere. Mm. And that was like, oh my God. Thank God I did not know of this before, because maybe I'd become nervous and backed out. I don't think so. But anyway, so it was an interesting experience.
Yeah. To wrap this up, do you have some final thoughts? Because I found that very interesting, the Notre Dame burning.
The Notre Dame burning, I find it very interesting as well. How can a church that is made of stone, out of big stones and lead, the roof was made of lead, and the only wooden parts were oak tree that was 800 years old, which is rock hard. I mean, it's so hard you cannot even imagine. And I have people that got hold of 500-year-old oak, and they used jet fuel on it, trying to put it on fire, and they could not. I mean, it would not burn. So I find it's very interesting that how could the church burn at all? Also, when you look at the color of the flames, where the temperature is super high, I mean, the bright colors of these flames are so high, the temperature is extreme. So how can you burn the roof of a church like that? Especially also when they had all of these building, what do you call it? What is that called? Building things up around there. It's exactly where the fire started, and they'd taken everything down that could, because they said because of the security. I mean, this is a very historical, one of the most important buildings for the Catholic Church in the world, you know. So the insurance things is way up there, and they had made very sure that no electrical equipment could be used up there because possible sparks and so on. And yet this whole thing started. So also when you see of the incredible job that the fire brigade did, I mean, there were 5 fire trucks in total and about 5 firefighters in total. I'm talking 5, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Where were all the helicopters? Where were all, and you see the firefighters, the photos of the fire, they're really struggling. Yeah, and they're like a kilometer away from the church. Check out the photos, see how close they are to the fire. There's about 1,000 meters between where the photo is taken and they're pulling along the hoses and where the fire is. Not very impressive. Then you have, they had all the big statues, outside statues that was made of copper, had been removed just a few days before the fire and beheaded, Judith. They were beheaded for cleaning purposes. So I have photos of these put down there in a warehouse, where all the heads have been cut off and put next to these sculptures. So what we have is suddenly a building with no connection to religion anymore. And here we're back to the New World Order agenda. Because can you imagine that there were drawings of a new church already made? That is so amazing. And the roof, which was the only thing that burned, was replaced on these drawings. It is amazing. And so what were the new drawings? They are a glass roof, yeah? Mm-hmm. All the sculptures are gone, or everything that has to do with the religion is gone, and then instead they have a glass obelisk right on top where the 2 roofs are meeting. That
of course,
big
an obelisk.
So it's like, so what are we looking at? We're looking at directed energy weapons. You can go in on Lockheed Martin's own website, see they've been developing these for about 45 years, and they can show you exactly how these things are done. So we're talking about this type of weaponry used against us, and where you can see the lack of firefighters, the whole shebang there shows you that it was by design and backed up by authorities in France, but also on a global scale. Otherwise, and it follows the whole agenda here where they're trying to destroy world religion. That is also where they try to push these religions against each other and once again destroy the whole thing so that they can come in with what is called the one world religion. And I think what they're trying to do is use the climate as a one world religion, the thing that will bring the whole world together, you know, with well, I don't know what to call her, Greta Thunberg, as sort of like a...
little disturbed girl.
Yeah, but she's just a front figure of a massive big power structure. We're back to the same thing. And so, yeah, you know, the Christchurch shooting you mentioned before, what happened there? There was a mosque shooting in Christchurch. I mean, just look at the headlines. You get all of that within one headline. Mosque shooting in Christchurch. That's too legit. I mean, it's perfect. Yeah. And it's all the thing. You got all of these mosques burning. Then you got attacks on churches. You got You had the churches in Sri Lanka, which
Mhm.
is also in the same alliance as the 90s ICE countries, where if you look at the alleged attacks in Sri Lanka that followed right after, the damages to these buildings were more or less identical to the damage of the government building in Norway that was blown up the same day as the mass shooting, where I have from CIA sources that the weaponry that was used were not explosives. It was not an explosion, it was an implosion. It was a suck up where they sucked the buildings up with different types of weaponry and then shake it and let it go down, and which is exactly what also witnesses say. It felt like we were being lifted up, shaken, and then fell down on the. And you will see the damages to the churches was the roof. The whole roof was pulled up, but nothing down below. Of the explosion power. And there's nothing like that. You see at these hotels, the windows have been sucked out, not blown in. You have no explosive. That's the exact opposite of what explosives does.
Yeah.
So.
And with Notre Dame, I also found Michelle Obama very interesting with her glass of wine.
Yeah, Michael is always nice to have in the background.
Yeah. And she had the burning church in her glass.
I know. And but Barry and Michael are a great couple that appears in many different areas,
They are always where the action is.
Yeah. And then you have special shows like the Ellen Show, where they use this as the cover. That's always the show that gets the interviews, and they're very often exclusive. So that's the only show where they will. So they use these as the way of laundering the whole thing, make it into more as a civilized version of what really went down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very easy to fall asleep during these because it's the same.
Yeah.
But then again,
trust the plan.
The thing is, everything is good in God's neighborhood. I tell you, it is. We're in extreme times, but absolutely amazing times as well. Like just in any kind of old story for children or Hollywood production, you have the story goes up, and then you come to a point about 90-95% where everything looks like, oh my God, it's over and done with, we lost, it's over. But if you just keep the focus, if you continue to watch and you keep the focus, keep the balance, then suddenly, whoop, and then it ends in a crescendo and happy days are here. So I think we are here, shaky, and then I think very soon it's going to crack down. I think it's already cracking down big time because they've got nowhere to go, these poor individuals that have been part in this horror for such a long time.
Yeah.
I don't envy them, I tell you that.
No, I don't either.
And I would very much, if it's okay with you, Judy, I would very much like also to say that the intention of what is going to happen after this whole thing, from our point of view, is so important that we go the Gandhi way. We come from love, compassion, forgiveness. They have to take responsibility for their actions, for sure. But that we do not come from a lynch mob mentality, because if I've been part of spreading that, I will feel so ashamed. My whole life devotion will have been for nothing. So I ask you, if nothing else, out of respect for individuals like myself, please deal with your own anger management issues or whatever it is. We've all been messed around with. We've all been traumatized. But this is a time and possibility for us to lift this world to a whole new level if we can handle this situation. Yeah. And many of these people that are made out as monsters, I mean, many of them have made horrible sins. I mean, really horrible deeds. But many of them are also in a situation where they've let themselves become corrupt, and where they are controlled, so they don't feel that they have an option out. I'm not making excuses for them. They will have to take responsibility for this. And this is also where I encourage whistleblowers, please step forward in this time. Help us to make this different happen. And by whatever inside information you've got, the sooner you step forward, the more warm the embrace will be. The longer you wait, because the ship is going down, the colder it will be. And people have a very hard way of seeing traitors. You see, just check history. So it's a brutal time ahead, but it's up to us how to deal with it. We can deal with it in a beautiful way, or it can go really bad.
Yeah, I would say whatever we are trying to create and make from scratch, and new word, new system, whatever, it's not a good idea to start with a bloodbath.
Oh God, no. If that happens, I will immigrate to another planet or whatever. No, the thing is, we have this, I can't wait, once we get over this minor bump called the New World Order. Oh my God, once they stop messing with the world, just them turning off their death machine, and debt machine. I spoke to this national finance expert. I mean, I know nothing about money, but he does. And I asked him, he said, how long do you think it would be to get the world back in balance with the right intention financially? And I was expecting something like 14 years, something. He said 48 hours. 48 hours with the right intention. If the whole slavery grip of debt that is created out of thin air, if they let go of that, and then a redistribution of wealth in a way that is out from a balanced mind, 48 hours. I mean, let's say that he's totally exaggerating. So maybe it's not 48 hours, but it's like 3 months. It still would be mind-blowingly wonderful. Yeah. And then it's up to us to prove, when there's no one to blame anymore, it's so easy to say, the Bilderberg, the Rothschild. Yeah, it's them. But once they're gone, or what's going to happen with them, can we create this future that we want? Can we get along? Can we? I don't know. I really, really hope so. And I cannot wait to start to clean up poor Mother Earth, and help her back in balance. It's going to be such a joy, and also my hope is that we're at a point where the frequency of the universe is lifting to the next level, where duality stops, where it just fades out, and we start seeing, oh my God, we're all one. Why are we fighting each other? It's time to stop, how can we help each other? And then the more we deserve, or the more we dedicate ourselves to serve. I mean, can you imagine a world where people are, what can I do for you? And really mean it, instead of I, me, mine, just see we, what can I do for us? What can I do? Whoa. It's going to go wonderfully fast and in an incredible way.
Yeah. And I lost my thought.
But listen, Judith, can I, I would very much like to finish with a prayer.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm not religious, but I have this prayer that I absolutely love, and it goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. That was, may the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. I repeat, may everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness. So victory to that light. This is is a crucial point, I think. You know, if you want hate and revenge and kill them and whatever, you've lost the point. You have missed the point. You know, what is the most important? Is it for us to create a fantastic world of harmony or to get revenge? I would say go for harmony, go for this beautiful future instead, and then deal with whatever things, go have therapy, whatever, deal with your own inner garbage. That is the responsibility we all have, but do not share it with the world. Don't push it on the rest of us. So everybody take their own responsibility, and let's just lift this world and say, hallelujah, baby. And once we got absolute world peace, it's time for a cold beer. And then we can start sorting out Mother Earth and treat her the way she deserves to be treated. My God, we've been raping her for such a long time. It's enough. It's enough. It's enough.
Yeah, it is enough. Ole, thank
Judith,
you so much for coming.
My absolute pleasure.
That was a great presentation, as usual. Thank you so much for that, you old communist.
I'm glad you appreciate hate speech. It's always a joy to share it with like-minded.
Yeah, okay. So guys, that was it. Night flight for today. We all see you next time. Stay safe and sound. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.